What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the show. Today, joining me from Boulder, Colorado, is Elliot Freeman. He is the head of marketing at Skratch Labs. Elliot, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, Jordan.
Oh, I'm excited to have you here and talk all things uh, innovation, pressure to innovate, all of that good stuff that comes along when you're sitting in a lead marketing role. But before we do that, I want to pass the mic to you to just talk through your experience. How did you find your way into this crazy world of marketing? Walk me through your journey and what got you to Skratch Labs, and then let's get into it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I would say marketing is a great path for people who really want to balance creativity and analysis. So, my creative background, I was an architect as my first career, which had a lot of great creativity to it, but the career path wasn't necessarily as appealing, as some people imagine it to be. So then I got into finance, which was, to me, the way to really build up my business acumen. And so eventually, marketing was the way to combine those two areas, right? It was the finance and analytics, but it was also the creativity, the visioning, stuff like that. So my path started on the agency side. I worked for two brand consultancies. One was called Landor Associates out in San Francisco, and another one was called Profit Brand Strategy, Prophet, also in San Francisco. And that was great. Brand consulting was an excellent way to sort of learn the chops, but consulting can be kind of intense, right? It was definitely on the road a lot of hours. So I essentially went to business school to get an easier job, which I know is a little bit counter culture, but I felt like I paid my dues in consulting, and that I wanted to find a path that was a little bit more lifestyle friendly. And to me, brand management was that path. A lot of my clients, when I was consulting, were brand managers, and they worked pretty much 9 to 5, and if something went wrong, it wasn't a disaster, and no one was going to die because your salad dressing wasn't delivering its number. And so from there, went to Kellogg for business school, which is sort of the biggest brand name in marketing, and then went from big to small for consumer packaged goods companies on the brand management side. First at Clorox, one of the big behemoths in the industry. Then to Cliff Bar, which is sort of one of the rare medium-sized consumer products companies, and now at Skratch Labs, which is small. It's about 10 years old and starting to really gain some traction. So that's kind of how I got here. It's a bit of a convoluted path, but some of the kind of traditional stops along the way.
I love it. It's something I've heard too. When they move to brand side, they're like, I can focus on one product now, which is like I can focus or one objective, opposed to like here are my four clients I have to like worry about, and then worrying about the agency side of things, and the how the sausage gets made on that side as well. Can be a lot. I think you're ahead of the time, man, with like, hey, I'm gonna get like good lifestyle and be passion marketing. That seems to be what
Yeah,
everyone's going for now, so kudos to you on that. That's yeah, definitely that's the dream now, I think, for a lot of people, so respect on that.
absolutely.
um
I will say that I feel like only at this most recent stop, I feel like I'm actually doing marketing. In brand management, you're sort of the conductor of the symphony, and you're moving budgets around and developing your plan. But, finally at this stage in my career, I'm actually, doing things like shaping campaigns and writing copy in addition to all the other strategy and management stuff. So it's kind of interesting to me that it takes until you're at the VP level of a small company to actually be doing, creative marketing again.
I love it. Yeah, that's it's like things that can come kind of full circle. So now you're at Scratch, you know, which is smaller team, challenger brand, really built from what I can see in like the ethos is like fueling elite athletes. And for the listener, it's I guess before we jump into Scratch, like break down for the listener what Scratch Labs is. So
Sure.
they have we're talking to them now, and they're like, "What? What are y'all talking about?" But yeah, give me the kind of elevator pitch, and then we'll break into some questions about that because I have a few on the brand.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Scratch was really started by two pro cyclists who were on the pro tour and were just watching their teammates eat, a lot of packaged foods, a lot of stuff that had not the right nutrient composition for elite performance. And I'm talking about these are folks who are on their bikes 20 to 30 hours a week. And for those individuals, when you take in a lot of artificial colors or artificial flavors or things like that, it really adds up and causes gastrointestinal distress. So the whole idea of Scratch is athlete food that won't put you at risk of gastrointestinal distress, right? Which again is a lot more common than I realized when you're drinking a bottle per hour for 15, 20 hours a week. So Scratch is just a very, very simply formulated food that's designed for a runner or a cyclist or really any sport where you're sweating for 60 minutes or more.
Okay, I love it. Now, uh, uh, now the brand started there. Does the customer base? Do you kind of get the weekend warrior types as well? The like that now are kind of getting in. Do you find that it was using the athletes as the spearhead, and then now kind of getting that? Maybe the person who cycling is much more of a hobby, or the like me. I'm training for a half marathon, but I'm by no means like championship runner. Do you find that it's kind of like now permeated out? The customer base has grown out to what we'll say, for lack of a better term, the weekend warrior type.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our consumer is, again, someone who's riding or running 3 times a week, a couple hours each training session, all the way up to the very elite athletes who are, top 20 in the world who are competing at a high level. So, it's really for anyone who feels like they've run into a wall with how they're feeling with their sports nutrition, right? And if they're feeling discomfort or GI distress, our product is a great solution for them. But we also always say that, hey, we're trying to solve problems that exist and not solve problems that don't exist. So if you're sweating for less than 60 minutes, if you're going to a yoga class or you're playing flag football on the weekend, our product probably isn't the best option for you, and that's okay. It's kind of great marketing to a very niche audience and delivering a product that really fits with the best part of their day. I mean, these are folks who, for the most part, have day jobs, right? And they get out on their bike as their treat to themselves, or get out on a run as a treat over the weekend or maybe midweek. And being able to support kind of their favorite part of the week is just a really great way to capture loyalty and really get some nice brand affinity.
I love it. No, that's cool. I also like that the brand said, "Hey, like we're gonna tackle these GI issues that it's not sexy to talk about, but anyone who's ran a half marathon and has drank or anything. You ran a 10K and you're drinking and putting down stuff, and then you're like, oh, this doesn't feel so hot when I'm going.
Yeah.
So I love that. Now I want to pivot the conversation a little bit, um, away from Scratch specifically, and more so to a talk you recently did. So you did a talk recently to a bunch of CMOs, and this was on the pressure to innovate. Was it specifically within the CPG space, or was it kind of CMOs from all walks?
It's pretty focused on the CPG space. So I'm part of this CMO forum for the naturals industry, which is mostly packaged goods, which is a great little group. A bunch of us are in Boulder, but many are spread around the country. And for the most part, we're sort of small and medium sized brands. And I think all of us who are leading a marketing team have felt the pressure to have product innovation, have a pipeline, something like that. And I think what I really encourage this group is only do innovation if you've got a really good reason for it, right? And bad reasons are, my CEO thinks we need to have a pipeline, or another bad reason is, the core product that we started with isn't resonating, but we're too scared to fix it. But there are some good reasons to innovate. One is sort of what's referred to as pantry filling, right? Where you have obvious assortment of categories that your target consumer is using, and you're not filling all of those categories in the portfolio, and therefore you're just kind of giving share to a competitor. So, the example is MySpace is, hey, we've got energy chews and we've got a hydration drink and we've got an energy bar, but we don't have an energy gel, which is a common purchase for someone in our consumer target. So, filling that gap is a good reason to innovate. Another good reason to innovate is just when consumers are demanding more ways to experience your core offer, right? Like they want more flavors, they want more sizes, they want a variety pack, something like that. But I think most of us feel the pressure to identify and come up with something that uniquely meets a consumer need, and that is just really hard.
Yeah, like that whole instead of the hey, we've had a lot of asks for a variety pack. Okay, let's make that. That's something that we can do and put into our, that can be a SKU we have, a variety pack. Amazing. That is innovation, even though the pressure to innovate is largely the pressure to do something so grandiose that like, oh, we need a bacon and ice cream flavor to make this to make this pop. And it's like, wait a minute, let's peel this back. Remember I was talking with this hotelier at the start of COVID, and he owned a
Yeah.
bunch of hotels, and he said people get so caught up in innovation, this and that. He's like, innovation can be as simple as we used to have a coffee machine when you walk in and everyone could touch it and make their own coffee. He said, now we put it behind the desk and we hired someone and they serve the coffee for you and they're wearing a plastic glove. He's like, there's
Yeah.
going to be no books written on that, but that's
Right.
innovation. And I love that story because it's like, I think there's so many opportunities to do that within existing brands to be like, what's the 2 millimeter shift, not the 2 mile shift to innovate,
Right.
right?
Right. At Cliff Bar, we were always trying to come up with the next great bar. And it was really hard. And I think there were other lower hanging fruit opportunities. It turns out that Cliff Minis, had a huge impact for us on the marketplace. And that was just, essentially changing where, the cut was on the line. So I don't know. One of the inspirations I look to for innovation is a brand like Oreo, right? Oreo has taken, what is a pretty good cookie, not an amazing cookie, and they've basically figured out a way to capture that magic and put it in every aisle of the grocery store, right? I mean, there's like Oreo, ice cream topping, there are, candy bars, there's everything Oreo, right? And they found an idea that resonates and they just figured out how to stretch it as far as they could. And to me, that is a lot easier in terms of just consumer acceptance than Oreo then saying, okay, we're going to try to come up with this completely different new type of cookie because we're cookie people and we know cookies. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Instead of exactly, oh, we're doing shortbread, whatever by Oreo. No, let's just go throw some Oreos in the McFlurry and get on with our day. Let's go for that partnership with McDonald's. Let's look at those opportunities. And for the listener, I bet right now, listeners, your head is going like, oh, I'm getting way too excited about this thing. Where can I look with our core product? Can I stretch my core product? Can I add variety to the core product that already exists and package that for a consumer? What can I do to make the consumer's life easier, right? Um, I am interested to hear, you know, how do you go about getting that feedback from the consumer or knowing like, hey, they want a variety pack? Let's just go back to that. Is that qualitative surveys? Is it just, hey, we're getting this request a lot? And I ask more so from the point of view of Skratch Labs, where when you're on when you're in a challenger brand, a small team, you can't go where the wind takes you, right? So to speak. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, we have X amount of dollars. Like, we need to make some decisions. How do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is listening to your consumer, whether that's through formal research or just spending time with them and kind of looking for what are the hacks that they're doing, right? If they're, opening up 4 boxes and mixing a bunch of flavors together because on their run they like to have, a variety of experiences, then it's like, okay, clearly they need a variety pack, right? Or if they're smearing peanut butter on their Cliff Bar. It's like, okay, hey, how do we combine, a nut butter with Cliff Bar, and that's how he sort of came up with nut butter filled, which was a new line by Cliff. So honestly, it again, unless you're going for a big swing, a big home run, it should be pretty obvious what those unmet needs are, um, just based upon spending time with your consumers. And for a brand like Skratch, we go to a lot of races and hand out samples, so we're right there front and center with our consumer, and we see how they're using the product. We hear their feedback directly. So just find ways and find opportunities to spend time with your consumer, which I realize is easier said than done.
Yeah, no, I love that though. Getting on the ground and actually going where the consumer is, hearing that, the small data, that face to face interaction. Oh, I like this one. Oh, that's a bit tart. Oh, whatever it is, that authentic thing you're going to hear from the customer, and then take that back and go, okay, we've heard this enough times. Let's make that change. Um, Elliot, this is awesome, man. Now, for anybody who wants to learn more about Skratch Labs or connect with you online, where should they head?
They can head to info at Skratch Labs, and that's Scratch with a K. We've got a team of essentially customer experience experts, including an in-house registered dietitian who's just there to, answer questions, help you with your training plan, help you with your nutrition. It's amazing how many people we get who contact us who just want to chat, and that's fine. We're here for you there. Tell us about the race you just had. Tell us about the one that you've got coming up. Tell us what you're thinking for your nutrition plan. So yeah, shoot a note to info@skratchlabs.com, or if you want to call and chat, numbers on our website.
Beautiful. And I'll put a link to the website in the show notes page so y'all can go and check out Skratch Labs. I know we got some athletes out there, so go give them a look and try out some of their products. Elliot, thank you so much for coming on today, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jordan.
All right, everybody, that's it. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Shelton, and I'll catch you next time.